Hello and welcome to the channel. Today we'll be reviewing Cardiff City's League One story so far. It's been a very positive start to the season, I would say, for Cardiff and Brian Barry Murphy. 41 points, topping the League One table at the moment. A lot of people tip them to really get stuck in this division. They've looked really positive, I would say, so far. 36 goals scored, the most of any side in the division, and the best goal difference as well. Today we're going to be looking at results, going over the last few months' worth of games, just seeing in terms of how Cardiff have seen off these games when they've lost, in what manner they've lost, as well as looking at Brian Barry Murphy himself as well, how he coaches, how he sets up tactically, and just going over general statistics of League One and sort of seeing how Cardiff compare with a lot of other sides in the division. And then to round it all off, we're going to look at what is in store for the next half of the season, because there are some very difficult games. And whilst Cardiff may be top now, it's going to be very difficult to try and place where a lot of the sides are going to be come May. Okay, now looking at the fixtures so far, if we look at August, it was a very positive start to the season for Cardiff. I think no one really knew what to expect coming into August. New squad, obviously, new manager, a lot of unknowns, but they started off really well, came out the gates flying, scoring 11 goals in 6 games, conceding only 1, which was a penalty in the first half of the first game of the season against Peterborough. I look at this, beating Peterborough 2-1 at home at the start of the season, obviously the perfect way you want to kick off the campaign with a great free kick from Ruben Colwell. Cardiff looked convincing, but still, as it was so early on, there was a lot of unknowns. Went to Port Vale away. Now, I watched this game personally, and it worried me because I saw a lot of similarities in last season as well. We looked like we got bullied. We looked like Port Vale. We went to Port Vale, looked really naive, and they set up to just bully us, and they made life difficult. We couldn't really get a look in, and we were lucky not to lose the game, to be honest with you. And Port Vale are not doing well this year either, so that was worrying to look at. But by the looks of it, Brian Barry Murphy and his side went away from that game, went back to the drawing board, came to a Rotherham home game, which saw us see them off 3-0. Now, that was a very convincing victory, and what I think a lot of fans would have wanted to see. I think it's League One's a division where if you get stuck in it, you're going to be there for a long time. And I think a lot of Cardiff fans looked at it like, whilst it could be a blessing in disguise, considering the failures of the season before, it's one of those where if we don't hit the ground running, we're going to get stuck here, and it's not going to be ideal whatsoever. That 3-0 win against Rotherham then moved on to a 1-0 away win against Wimbledon, which was one, I believe, in injury time. Very hard fought victory. Wimbledon once again set up to try and bully a young Cardiff side, and whilst they nearly succeeded, we came away with an Isaac Davies 90th minute winner, which is one of those results that you may look at in May and think that was absolutely paramount. And that's the thing, that's been like a theme with Cardiff so far this season, I believe. They there's a lot of sides that are difficult to go to in this division. Like, whilst the overall quality of the division, I'd say, is rather poor, it is not the easiest place. Like, there are not easy places to go to. There's no really easy games because every side can really beat each other. So that 1-0 win against Wimbledon was huge. Then went into a away game against Luton, and I personally looked at the table at the start of the season and thought, who are the biggest challengers for this title? And I outlined Luton because they looked like the side that was most likely to stay up the year before in the Championship. And we went there, and they didn't really offer much. I think everyone just did their jobs. Chris Willock with an outstanding finish in the box to score the one and only goal of the game. I think that was one of those where I think a lot of fans in the division started looking at us and thinking, okay, we're going to be a difficult side to beat, because whilst it is very much possession-based football from a manager who's derived under Pep Guardiola as well, there's a lot of resilience in this side for a squad that is so young as well. And then to round out the month, what other way to do it than to beat Plymouth 4-0 at home? I can imagine Plymouth don't really enjoy coming to Cardiff anymore. But yeah, it was a very good way to round off the month. 2 statement victories, 2 very hardly fought earned victories. I look at it now, scored 11 goals, conceded 1, won 16 points that month. It was the perfect start to a League One campaign that you could probably ask for. I'd say September was a bit of a reality check for Cardiff. Like, I look at the results now. 1-1 draw to Stockport. First goal conceded in a month, basically, from a penalty. Stockport's not going to be an easy trip to do. I was personally quite glad we got out of the way and still came away with a point on the board. It was the first 2 games of the month were a massive reality check, I'd say. Drawing 1-1 to Stockport, losing 3-1 to Bradford. The Bradford game stands out to me in particular because I think it showed that we are to a lot of the sides in the division, that we are beatable. Whilst there's so many positives from the campaign so far, it's difficult not to be hypercritical because we do have the best squad in the division as well. Bradford came to the Cardiff City Stadium and just set up to completely just boss us. They gave us no time on the ball. Didn't release, and when we had time on the ball, they'd suffocate us. We wouldn't be able to get out of the channels at all, and really sort of play our football. They were good on the counter. There was one absolutely outstanding goal to open the game up as well. And it was just one of those. It was just a big reality check, I'd say. September was an inconsistent month. 1 draw, 2 losses, 1 win. Drawing to Stockport, losing to Bradford, then beating Wigan 2-0 in Wigan, which is obviously a great result, and then losing to Burton at home, which was one of those where it was a game that obviously could have gone either way, but it shouldn't really have been in that position to begin with, considering the difference in quality of players on the pitch. But Burton did well to come to Cardiff and just essentially set up not to lose and take their chances when they came to them, whereas we could not put anything in the back of the net. Scored 4 goals, conceded 5, and won 4 points that month. Like I said several times already now, it was just quite a big reality check. I think it was a bit of naivety on the squad's behalf. It's difficult not to, having such a positive start to the season, first month of the season in August, where you're scoring 11 goals and looking unbeatable. But it shows that there are sides in this division that are going to challenge us. Bradford, having just come up from League 2, look exceptional, especially at home. Their home form is impeccable. Stockport, I also thought were going to be one of the main challenges for the division, but they have sort of foundered a little bit as of the last 2 months. I think we're sort of starting to figure out where sides are starting to sort of bottom out and where they're going to end up come the end of the season. I think for a side like Bradford, I can see them at the top end of the division come the end of the season, but having just come up, it's always going to be difficult to keep that momentum going. There's always the question of, is it just sort of living off good forms and a positive morale, or is it form that is genuinely here to stay? And I think December and the end of November have shown that maybe that's not the case, as they have struggled to win a fair few games over the last few weeks. But yeah, leaving September on 20 points out of 10 games played is a massive positive. The Bradford game, I believe, is something that I think it's something that a lot of players could learn from. Just sort of erasing that naivety in the squad and not thinking that you can walk every single game. Month started with Cardiff beating Leyton Orient 4-3 at home. The winning goal coming from Callum Robinson in the 71st minute. Very end-to-end game. Goals coming in the 20th minute, 29th minute, 52nd, 54th, 61st, 69th and 71st. I think that says it all. Leyton Orient underperforming their XG. And it looked like from the stats it was Leyton Orient's game to win. 54% possession, 4.09 XG, 26 total shots on target. In comparison, Cardiff had 46% possession, 2.73 XG, and 16 shots. But it all comes down to taking your chances when they come. Cardiff had a massive bit of possession and momentum about midway through the second half, and that's where 2 of the goals in 2 minutes have come from to win the game. Leyton Orient not an easy side to beat. They're a very well drilled side, very well put together, and it shows by them getting to the playoff final last year. They will be up in that playoff fight this year, 100%, and that's why it's so important that Cardiff win these games, whether it's now or whether it's in March, for example. It doesn't really make much of a difference. But yeah, and then moving on, we go on to, if I can find it, we go on to Cardiff versus Reading. Now that was once again another home game. Cardiff running out 2-1 winners over Reading. So Kelleran and Salic getting on the score sheet. One major positive thing I'd say so far this year for Cardiff has been their attacking output. Players like Callum Robinson, Omari Kellerman, Ruben Colwell, Yusuf Salic, Kian Ashford, Ollie Tanner when he's back from injury as well. Having those sorts of options going forward always makes for you to be a difficult team to beat. Reading with the higher XG but underperforming at Cardiff with 1.49 XG but the higher possession. And they took their chances when it came. Reading never really, outside of that Lewis Wing like screamer, 26 shots but 3 big chances. That kind of shows that they're not overly clinical in that final third. Cardiff, in comparison to some of the other games we've seen so far this year, I'd say Cardiff have been let off the hook a little bit with this one, because by the stats and from the clips I've seen, it was very much Reading's game to win. And then the final league game of the month was against Bolton at Tough Sheet Community Stadium, losing 1-0 to a Kozia Dewberry 94th minute winner. Incredible finish, may I add, in all fairness to him. But 62% possession, but he's done nothing with it. 4 shots, 1 big chance, nothing really coming our way. Bolton didn't have to use the possession. Their 17 shots made it count in the 94th minute when it actually mattered. And I think that plays a massive difference in terms of in those sorts of fixtures where it's going to be scrappy. No one's really going to be able to want to play their style of football, and that's what makes a difference. Being able to take your chances when they come, no matter how late they arise. And if we move on to November, so negative start to November, getting beaten 3-1 by Blackpool at Bloomfield Road. This is such a baffling result to me. From the momentum chart, it was all Cardiff, completely Cardiff. By the looks of it, all 3 goals came against the run of play completely as well. Cardiff has 66% possession, 2.18 XG, 28 total shots and 5 big chances. Blackpool had 19 total shots, 7 big chances, but they took their chances when they came. I think it's one of those. It was an afternoon to forget, I'd say, for Cardiff and Brian Barry Murphy. Just making critical errors in the wrong places, getting done against the run of play. Goal coming from Salic in the 98th minute. Obviously, that's a big positive, but it's one of those where you're going to want to forget about it quite quickly. Because Blackpool, this is a massive 3 points for them. If they do end up staying up in May, this is a 3 points that they can look back on and think it was a massive result, because I think a lot of sides would expect Cardiff to turn up, and considering their form since the start of the season, I'd say give them a game or roll them over, and Blackpool did the exact opposite to that. And then on to Cardiff 3, Northampton 1. So this was exactly the turnaround that was needed, I'd say. Joel Colwell and Chris Willock get on the score sheet with a Northampton own goal as well. Northampton have more possession, more expected goals, more total shots and more big chances, but Cardiff really taking their chances when they came and making it count. Northampton are a side that have always been in that sort of, say, 17 to 21st area, and they're not always the easiest side to go to. Then again, no one in this division is, but I think being able to get that result, especially considering when the stats are against you and the momentum, by the looks of it on the momentum chart, was against you as well, is one of those things that you can those scrappy games, like I keep saying, just being able to grind out results. And then on to final league game of November, beating Mansfield 3-0 at the Cardiff City Stadium. Clinical is what I'd say. 3.30 expected goals, 20 shots on target, 6 big chances, 55% possession. Mansfield had 1 expected goal, 7 total shots and 2 big chances. The momentum chart screams Cardiff. All the goals have come when there is a lot of momentum going Cardiff's way. It's a lot of Cardiff ball. And I think Barry Murphy's men completely and perfectly executed the game plan in this one. Mansfield aren't the best side by any stretch of the imagination, haven't just come up, but they will be a side to go to. That is going to be a challenge. Getting 3 points to 3 points off of the man in the home fixture is massive, and it's another 3 points you can take and add to the tally at the end of the day. Because in this division, every point counts. So yeah, hit and miss October and November, I'd say, for Cardiff, but getting right back on track with that Mansfield and Northampton result was key for them to keep pushing into December. And then we go on to December, obviously only halfway through the month so far. Beating Huddersfield 3-2 at the start of the month is huge. They're a side that I think a lot of people, I think due to their transfer market, like a lot of people sort of picked them to be right up there with the incomings they brought in and the squad they had built. But I think, according to a lot of Huddersfield fans, it's just not the case so far. Going to Stevenage and beating them 1-0 is huge. It was an absolutely nothing game. Like, we didn't look incredible. We didn't look bad, though. I think Stevenage, terrible place to go to. Their home form is great. Their home form is really, really good. Going there and being able to get a result in, I think, Callum Robinson volley in the 80th minute, which is a great finish. Just being able to go there and get a result is huge, because they are also right up there. They're a side that are difficult to go to predominantly, and that is probably what puts them up at that upper echelon on the table, because they are so difficult to go and get a result at. And then beating Doncaster 4-3 this last weekend, that's a huge win. I feel like that's a bit of a statement in the sense of, yes, Doncaster aren't going to be up there and challenging for a playoff place or automatic place. However, they are still not an easy side to play against. They're not a bad side at all either. They do set up well, and they never really seem to let go. They went 1-0 up through an own goal, but we kept coming back, made it 2-1, and then they brought it back with, I think, Ronan Capaccio, who's been outstanding this season, but I think just play behind the ball and let them in to make it 2-2. But it's like I said about that resilience, just not willing to give up. 9 minutes of added time, injury time added on, and Keane Ashford's strike deflected by the goalkeeper onto the foot of Joe Bagan to gain a massive 3 points for Cardiff. I look at it, it's 9 points from 3 games. It's 8 goals scored and 6 goals conceded. That's a massive start to December. And what can be looked back on now in review, as we're almost at the halfway mark, as a very positive start to the League One season. We're top of the league. We're on 41 points from 19 games, averaging 2.1 points per game. That is huge. I think looking at us now, we look a completely different side to what we have done in years past. Having a striker that can score goals now as well obviously helps. But I think Barry Murphy bringing in youth players like Joel Colwell, like Keane Ashford, like Ronan Capaccio, Dylan Lawler, and having them be strongholds in the squad and making up that structure that he wants to play is huge. And I think we've kicked on with a massive spring in our step so far this season, and we look like we are going to be very, very much up at the top end of the table come May. So if we move on from the results themselves and look at Cardiff more in a statistic manner, I mean, from the list here, I think the results speak for themselves. First in League One, 41 points from 19 games. That's averaging 2.1 points a game. They are the highest. They have the most amount of possession in the entire division. If I look at the stats for the team, I mean, they do just speak for themselves. Most goals per match, 1.9. They are fourth in most goals conceded with 1.1 on average. First in most possession with 61.1, which obviously links into Barry Murphy's playing style completely. Most clean sheets with 8. tied for first with Luton, who also have 8 clean sheets as well. But shows defensively how much better Cardiff are this season than they were last season when they were just leaking goals. First in expected goals with 30.6, first in shots on target per match with 5.3, first in big chances with 56. They average the most accurate passes per match, once again buying into Brian Barry Murphy's possession and build up passing, on the floor passing, build up based football. They rank 11th in long balls per match. They are second in touches in the opposition box with 513, and attacking wise, that is such a positive aspect. That Brian Barry Murphy's instilled this sort of pet ball ideology, which he tried to use with Rochdale, and I guess because of the quality of players, it didn't exactly work. But having players who want to play the ball on the ground, use the channels, get the ball, play the ball through the gaps and down the line, it does work very well. Like the possession and the amount of accurate passes speaks for itself in terms of how well it does work. Just using triangles to try and play around teams, and the build up for some of the goals that have been scored this season has been incredible. Like I said earlier in the video, going forward, we just look so promising attacking wise. The expected goal speaks for itself. Scored 36 goals, I believe, with 29 of them coming from open play. You've got Yusuf Salic, who is the top goal scorer with 11 goals now, and then the top assister is Ronan Capacchio with 6 as well. It is a very, very promising start for Cardiff. There we go. Possession 1 in the final third per match. Cardiff come third with 4.1. The way Brian Barry Murphy plays with his possession-based football, off the ball as well, he wants us to press. He wants Cardiff to press high and press fast and kind of suffocate sides into giving them possession, and it does work very, very well. I look more at this now. The home record is 8 wins, 0 draws, 2 losses. Their goal difference is plus 16, the most out of anyone in the division. They won 24 points at home, showing how they are such a difficult side to beat at home, but then go away and win 17 points as well. Like I said, top goal scorers, you've got Yusuf Salic on 11 goals, Callum Robinson on 4, Chris Willock on 3. That's the top 3 for Cardiff. Top assisters is Ronan Capacchio on 6, Ruben Colwell on 3, and Chris Willock on 3. Goals conceded per match, 1.10, which is 4th in League One. That potentially stems from a very young defence. You've got Ronan Capacchio and Dylan Lawler and Joel Bagan in that back four. It's a very young average squad, and there are sides that are very, very, very physical. Shots on target per match, 5.30. We're a very attacking based side now, I'd say. In comparison to years past, playing under Neil Harris or Mick McCarthy or Errol Bullock, where it's very much just long ball side to side with no real end product, which kind of left us in limbo from 2020 to 2024. Eventually, obviously with us getting relegated last season, but sort of like sealing up defensively and having an ideology of what you want to play with and sticking to your tactics and backing the youth as well has proved so important, because Brian Barry Murphy was, if there was one person who's going to bring you through, it probably would have been him, because he worked in the academy at Man City. He understands how to work with young players, and he has fully trusted them, and it has paid off massively. He wants to build up slowly. He wants to use possession-based football to slowly apply pressure, find the gaps, and exploit them. I was concerned earlier in the season in terms of striking options, because Salic and Callum Robinson hadn't really hit the ground running in August. That's obviously changed now. Salic is on 11 goals. He's the top goal scorer. But it looked like the style of play wasn't really fitting. But having Salic drop in a bit more, holding the ball up, has worked so well. he wants to like emphasize that quick transition, like aforementioned, using that high press and winning the ball in the final third or in the middle third of the pitch, and just like switching on the quick transition, using the wings, getting the ball into the box, and it has worked so well. His tactical structure, he likes to use the 4-1-4-1 or 4-2-3-1 formation. It's been more common this season to see the 4-2-3-1 formation. I think that's his preferred one, and with the players he has, I think he knows is the one that works best. Having players like David Turnbull, Joel Colwell, Amari Kellyman, Ryan Wintle, Ruben Colwell in that midfield gives that sort of option of having those defensive players will sit and win that ball back, and then it can easily progress to players like Kellyman and Colwell who want to push forward and carry the ball into the final third. And having the three sat behind the striker makes it so much easier to deliver balls into the box when you have players like Isaac Davies, like Kean Ashford, who has been outstanding this season, delivering that sort of outlet to Yusuf Salic and Callum Robinson. Being able to supply balls into the box has worked so well, and it's where we've sort of made a lot of teams come undone this season. He's like I said, has worked so well at bringing youth players into the squad. I think last year we probably had one of the oldest squads in the Championship. This year we have, I believe, the youngest squad in League One. You got players like Isaac Davies, Joel Colwell, Ruben Colwell, Kean Ashford, Ronan Capacchio, Dylan Lawler, Joel Bagan, who are complete mainstays in the starting lineup, and being able to utilise them and play to their strengths is massive. I remember having a conversation with some Cardiff fans a few months back, saying that I think, whilst obviously it's quite shit that you get relegated, it's also very beneficial for the younger players, I'd say, and being able to build the youth up in a level that is not as harsh and bring up their skills and turn them into better players before putting them in a harsher environment, I think has worked so well, and we've gotten some proper players out of it. Dylan Lawler has been outstanding this season. He's been linked with moves away essentially every single week of this season. And whether we hold on to these players or let go, I'm not too sure. If you hold on to them, you build, and they will turn into better and better players, especially in the Championship. If you let go, you take the money for it, and you'll guarantee you're going to get a decent amount of money for players such as Ruben Colwell and Dylan Lawler and Ronan Capacchio, because their ability level is so far above a lot of other players in this division and in the division above with the talent they have. Brian Murphy's been very clear with how he wants players to play, with the tactics he's used. He's also instilled this nature of resilience in and around the team, like in past games, going 1-0 down, or going 2-1 down, and fighting back to get goals back and turn the result around. So yeah, it's been a very positive, very, very positive start to Brian Murphy's tenure at Cardiff City, and tactically and coaching wise, he's very much the man for the job in this aspect. So overall, this season so far, the positives, obviously the list is very, very long. The league form has been impeccable. Bringing in the youth players has been really, really important, and it's shown with a lot of players getting, with Ruben Colwell, Isaac Davies, Ronan Capacchio and Dylan Lawler getting called up for the Wales squad. One thing I haven't touched on is the cup run. The EFL Cup run has been outstanding, facing Chelsea tomorrow night in the Carabao Cup, which is an opportunity that some of these lads have probably been waiting a lifetime for. I think a lot of fans always thought that we'd be up there. Cardiff fans especially always thought they'd be in that fight for the automatics. And I think a lot of them sort of thought in October, November time, that when the results against Bradford and Bolton and Blackpool happened, that maybe it's just too soon for the youngsters and all this. But they have been very good about how they turn results around. They've come away from a loss, and the next week they've put 3 goals on a side, And that is what's so important about bouncing back from it and not letting the slump get to you. And they've been very, very good with that. In terms of the negatives, defensively, sometimes we've made interesting decisions, I'd say. You've had Capaccio being too lightweight sometimes, too out of position. Chambers sometimes picking the wrong passes, and just sometimes a bit of a miscommunication defensively. However, I still believe the positives defensively massively outweigh the negatives. I think because of how young that back four is, it does give a bit of leeway for the mistakes that have been made, because they are still players maturing into their professional career. The early exits from the FA Cup and the EFL Trophy, I think whilst obviously everyone wants an FA Cup run, that's obviously ideal. I think the main focus is now just looking at getting promoted again. The Carabao Cup, whatever happens with that, I think a lot of fans will be happy, even especially after beating Burnley and especially Wrexham. So I think whatever happens tomorrow night, a lot of fans won't really care. But yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting way to look at and review the season and see where we're going to be in May. I think if we stay in this form that we've been in for this first half of the season, we'd end the season with over 80 points, maybe over 85 even. So it just depends. There's a lot of difficult games in this division for the rest of the season. Having Stevenage come to Cardiff is going to be a difficult one. They are a good side. Bradford away is probably the one I'd pick out as the toughest challenge in terms of a place to go to, because Bradford's home form is amazing, and it isn't an easy ground to go to. And they showed us earlier in the season about how clinical they can be. Stockport at home is another one that's going to be an interesting one to see what happens with that, because there is a lot of size in this top 6 to top 8 of this league that can really beat anyone. You look at Barnsley, you look at Bolton, Huddersfield, Bradford, Stevenage. They're not easy sides to play, and a lot of them don't play the prettiest football, but sometimes that's not what matters. It's just about how the result is achieved. And a lot of sides will want you to come to them thinking you're going to roll them over, and then they will just make your life hell. And that's what I can see happening with Bradford. It's what I can see happening with Barnsley and Huddersfield as well. You've got Luton at home and Bolton at home towards the end of the season as well, which is 2 key games. Luton have been quite hit and miss so far this season. They haven't really found their feet, but they are in the form table. I believe they're 8th, and it seems like they're on the up again. They've got a good squad, probably one of the better squads in the division. So it'll be interesting to see where they land come May and come the end of the season. And Bolton home, I think in late April, is going to be one of those where it's going to be so key to get a result on them, because it's so difficult to say how close the title race is going to be come April, come May, where 3 points or getting 3 points or losing 3 points could be huge. So yeah, I think all in all, it's been a very, very positive start to the season for Cardiff and Brian Barry Murphy. He's clearly shown he's the man for the job with how he's set up tactically, how he's instilled that environment around the squad, and how he's been with the fans as well. There's nothing but positives from the fans coming out about him. And most luckily as for him, he has got the backing of Vincent Tan, which is not easy to come by, I guess. But yeah, it's going to be a long old season. I think should expect to see Cardiff up in that top 6 for a massive majority of that season. There's going to be some easy games, there's going to be some difficult games. There'll be games that I think a lot of people will expect us to take 3 points, and we may drop them. But the main thing is that things are trending in the right direction for this team. And I think the results and the form over the last 4 months have shown that massively. So yeah, I have been Nils James. You've been watching Touchline 72. Thank you very much for watching.